Welcome to the Universal Spirit Sakimori Research Lab. Thank you very much for your visit. In the previous 13th session, we examined how the end of the Dark Ages in 1899 coincided with the spread of materialism on Earth, which had a negative impact on the lower spiritual world. Also, around this time, Onisaburo Deguchi joined Oomoto, and we examined the start of the soul reorganization and reconstruction of the 3,000 worlds by Onisaburo Deguchi, the national ancestor, Kunito Kotachi no Makoto. This time, we will examine the process leading up to this major spiritual purification project and the central existence in this major project, using Vale Owen's Spirit World Communication as a reference. According to Owen's Spirit World Communication introduced last time, the major project of Earth purification is mainly the purification of materialistic recognition by science and dogmatic recognition by existing religions. And it was conveyed that the fact that the consciousness of all humanity had descended to the material dimension became a serious problem in the spiritual universe, and that it meant a crisis situation for humanity. The reason is that this major project was not only aimed at the Earth, but the proportion of things related to the Earth was extremely small in the whole. Even the entire operation plan we participated in was just a small point in the far corner of the physical universe. What was important was the spiritual significance, not the physical scale. As we have already mentioned, the situation on Earth had an impact on layers far from the Earth, but its momentum was gradually fading, and even if they felt its impact, there were people who were confused because they didn't know what it was or where it came from. However, the inhabitants of other planets sensed the cause and considered the Earth a troubled existence. Indeed, they are spiritually more evolved than Earth's humanity, so if we, who once lived on Earth and are familiar with the situation on Earth, did not handle this problem, probably those from other planets would have handled it. Those who have evolved to freely use the technology of spiritual communication have already made this problem a topic in the Council. Their motivation is extremely pure and spiritually advanced. However, the means are those that they have thought of on their own, and it was probably not something that Earth's humanity could understand. If applied as is, it would probably be too rough and would cause people on Earth to doubt the existence of God or Buddha, delaying the leap we now need by about 2 centuries. Please consider this when you are saddened by the hardships of the people who have guided and are still guiding Earth's humanity for about the past 2,000 years. Thus, the negative impact of the 5,000-year Dark Ages on Earth was not a problem limited to the tragedy of humanity on Earth, but it was reported in Spirit World Communication that it extended to the spiritual beings surrounding the Earth. Furthermore, if the purification of the Earth had been forcibly carried out by higher spiritual beings, it is said that there was a possibility that humanity could have gone back more than 200 years. This could have been a catastrophic situation, such as the sinking of the continents of Lemuria and Atlantis. And in the Oomoto Divine Message, content that reminds us of this situation has been recorded many times. As civilization evolves and becomes too convenient, people forget the hard work of the original Creator God and become selfish. Eventually, people who understand the true feelings of God gradually disappear, only act out of self-interest, turn this world into a survival of the fittest, a beastly spirit, and make it as if there is no place for God. Therefore, if we leave it as it is, the world will collapse and become a world of only hungry ghosts and demons, so we must carry out soul reorganization because the world is pressing us. Japan's divine country has been defiled, and this world has become pitch black. God appears on the surface, manifests divine power, protects the 3,000 worlds under the protection of the rising sun god, and protects the world. This world was supposed to become a muddy sea once. However, Onisaburo Deguchi apologized to the great God of heaven, and if we do not help humanity, the people of the world feel too pitiful, and somehow help humanity, God has been working hard for a long time. However, because only a few people understand this hardship of God, God's plan is postponed. Therefore, even those who come to this Oomoto and listen to God's story, I want them to repent and return to the original Japanese soul. The phrase "this world was supposed to become a muddy sea at one point" seems to convey the same situation as the previous spirit world communications description. It would have set us back about 2 centuries. This is the application of providence that considers the karma of the universe, and it must have meant an extremely critical disaster for the survival of humanity, such as the sinking of the continents of Lemuria and Atlantis. Furthermore, the phrase "because we made it as if there is no place for God" is not an exaggerated warning or anything like that, but it coincides with the recognition that Steiner spoke of. The angelic existence that became the external form of Christ experienced the extinction of consciousness in the course of the 19th century. And to save this critical situation of humanity, Mr. Owen's communicating spirit said, "When you are saddened by the hardships of the people who have guided and are still guiding Earth's humanity for about the past 2,000 years, but Ushitoran Okonjin had been working hard in the shadows for humanity for 3,000 years. And in Owen's spirit world communication, it is reported that Christ himself took on the salvation from this critical situation on Earth. However, they, the high-dimensional spirits of the universe, soon received information that Christ himself had taken on the problem. Then immediately, they offered to help, albeit insufficiently. Christ accepted it and, so to speak, used it as a reserve force. Their inherent energy was sent along the flow of spiritual power and our energy was reinforced. So we greatly increased our power, and the battle was shortened accordingly. In other words, the communicating spirit at that time reported that the high-dimensional spiritual beings who were planning a forced purification joined the forces supporting Christ because Christ took on this problem. And as we discussed last time, Steiner also tells us that he reached the situation of spiritual suffocation, death of angelic existence due to the dark realm of materialism in the 16th century. The sacrifice of Christ in the 19th century can be compared to the sacrifice in the physical world in the mystery of Golgotha. It can be called the second crucifixion in the etheric world. The spiritual suffocation death that erased the consciousness of angelic existence is a repetition of the mystery of Golgotha in the world behind the physical world. Thus, the previously hidden Christ consciousness can be resurrected in the hearts and souls of humans on earth. This resurrection will cause clairvoyant observation of humanity in the 20th century. Thus, from the 20th century, Christ consciousness will be combined with human earthly consciousness. The death of Christ consciousness in the angelic realm in the 19th century means the resurrection of Christ consciousness in the earth realm. In other words, from the 20th century, the life of Christ will be felt in the hearts and souls of humans as a direct personal experience. We humans, when we faced the crisis 2,000 years ago where the soul could not return to heaven after death, through the mystery of Golgotha by Jesus Christ, recognized the resurrection and eternity of the soul after death again, and by believing in it, the path of spiritual salvation was opened. However, during the 5,000-year Dark Age, humanity continued to bring materialism, which says that God does not exist and matter is everything, and religious dogma, which says that God punishes humanity and drops them into hell, into the lower realm of the spirit world. This materialism and religious dogma mean the denial of the original love and wisdom of God. It means creating a realm in the lower realm of the spirit world where there is no heat of love and light of wisdom, in other words, a realm of cruelty and darkness. Also, the most external composition of humans is the physical body in the material dimension. And when humanity pollutes and the sanitary environment deteriorates, strange diseases and epidemics spread, and the physical body cannot survive. Similarly, the most external composition of angels is said to be the etheric body in the etheric world. This spiritual pollution of the etheric world is a non-spiritual recognition, in other words, a materialistic value, and due to its expansion, a serious problem equivalent to suffocation death occurred in the realm of angelic existence, which should originally be immortal. Steiner says that the sacrifice of Christ in the etheric world, which was necessary due to the critical situation that caused death in this angelic realm, is the second crucifixion in the 20th century. Since humans hold an etheric body between the physical body and the soul, this event in the etheric world is extremely important for both the resurrection of humanity in the higher spirit world after death and further evolution. However, since it is an event in the etheric world, it cannot be seen with the naked eye, and that is why many people are said to be completely unaware of it. And to understand it, spiritual insight by anthroposophy is necessary, and to see Christ after death, it was essential to learn the appearance of Christ in the etheric world during one's lifetime. Furthermore, it was prophesied that the greatest teacher to tell this is the Maitreya Bodhisattva of the New Essene sect. And in Vale Owen's Spirit World Communication, the scene of Christ leading a large spiritual group towards the great project of earth purification is depicted as follows. Christ's forces were assembled towards the far sky of the great prairie of heaven. Terraces were arranged in a step-by-step manner according to the spiritual rank towards the upper direction, and I, along with my fellow squad members, were standing on a terrace located roughly in the middle, neither above nor below. Each member of the cloud-like forces had their own mission. When I looked in the direction of the earth, various colors were forming several layers. It was the color symbolizing the 10 layers between my realm and the realm of the earth, and it was emitted from the attire of the forces lined up to descend from here. Below that, at a position that would be the background of those forces, I could see something foggy surrounding the earth. The thick and gloomy substance, which reminded me of a dense jelly, was swirling in places, and the sight of red and dark green streaks and tongue-like things entwining around it reminded me of the evil incarnate snake running hellish misdeeds, and it was eerie to look at. We were not particularly scared of that sight. We did not feel any fear at all. On the contrary, we held each other's hands in love and camaraderie, and immersed ourselves in solemn thoughts for a while. Our journey from now on must confront that eerie mass, and moreover, we must pass through it. The earth we aim for is within it. We must break through it and reach the earth no matter what. The gloomy earth now needs our help. Looking at that eerie sight, the following thought came to my mind: how can humans breathe and live in that terrifying fog? These depictions of the spiritual world surrounding the earth remind us of the words of Onisaburo Deguchi, which we introduced in the 12th session. However, the present age, the golden age of the distant divine age, has gone unnoticed, and the silver age, the copper age, the iron age have gradually fallen, and now it has become a chaotic muddy sea era. This is also because humans, given freedom from God, to let them perform a full measure of divine activity, humans gradually rebelled, became captives of the 8-branched serpent and the crooked God, and finally rebelled against God, ignoring the existence of God, and thus this dark and ignorant world appeared. It also reminds us of the following words from the Oomoto divine message. The world today is 9/10 devil, so even the power of the living God of heaven and earth is hard to break. People say that if it's a God, it should be able to exterminate the devil directly, but in the world, there is no truth at all. Like a muddy sea, there is no place for the living God to step in, no place to reach out, so God is also having a hard time. This world has been self-centered so far, and even if the people of the guardian God above have cleaned up this world, the real cleaning cannot be done, so the real living God is starting to clean up the world, and is informing us every day, but the closer you are, the less you know. It's a pity, but from a distant country, with the light of a distant country, your feet will gradually become clear, which has been informed by the divine message since 1892. The light is shining from a distant country, and you are about to understand your feet. Thus, in the spirit world, the earth, which is exactly like a muddy sea, with no place for the living God to step in, no place to reach out, was in a situation where the real guardian deity of activity is starting to clean up the world. And Owen's communication praises Christ, who leads these forces, as follows. As for ourselves, our work was, as already mentioned, to incorporate as much as possible into our organization through the action of quality conversion. No matter what cannot be digested is pushed further into the depths of hell, and there is nothing to do but wait for natural decay. It would seem like a tremendous meal. And it's not very delicious. That's true, but with such a force, and with Christ as our leader, we were confident that we could surely succeed. Because we knew that Christ himself would soon descend to lead us. At that time, as he descends towards the earth, he will be clothed in a body of wavelength according to the abilities of the inhabitants of each world, and we knew that he would have visibility that would also appear to our vision. It was that Christ, who is at the highest rank of the great army of heaven, would pass through that great army and place himself in the atmosphere of the earth at once. Indeed, indeed. There is no leader like Christ. Even among the countless beings endowed with divinity, there is no spirit that can match Christ as a guide for angels and humanity. I assert this with a solemn feeling. This is because, even among the gods who are in charge of the affairs of heaven, their powers are not equal, and like humans on earth, each one expresses its own individuality. We, who belong to the category of ordinary angels, are also like this, and thus the highest-ranking archangels express the highest beauty of the Father God, but they also have their own individuality. Even among such a variety of gods, I say that there is no one who can match Christ in terms of leadership qualities. The comrades I talked to earlier also said the same thing. I intend to talk about this again. At that time, it will be clear whether my assertion above is correct or not. Arnel. In other words, Arnel, a high-level entity in the 10th layer of the spirit world, was saying that Christ, on the occasion of this great project, is clothed in a body of wavelength according to the abilities of the inhabitants of each world, and has visibility that will also appear to our vision, and was telling us that the opportunity to see Christ in the spirit world had arrived. Also, in the Oomoto divine message, the great cleansing of the world is described as follows. Since now is the start of the great cleansing of the world, those who stop by this Oomoto must reform their spirits considerably before they come. The whole world is dirty like muddy water, and it must be cleaned from the Oomoto of Ayabi, which is a miniature of the world, and improved to a world as clear as crystal. Therefore, if we continue to behave as we have been, it will be difficult to return the world to the original crystal divine age, so from now on, in Oomoto, God will be careful one by one, and it will become stricter day by day, so we need to be prepared. If you join this Oomoto and have a cheerful and easygoing spirit, you will not be able to stay there for a moment. This should have been a warning that the large forces led by Christ from the higher spirit world are approaching and are about to start purifying the earth, and that both humans on earth and guardian gods should repent and prepare. And in the Oomoto's Ushitora no Kanjin and Kunito Kotachi no Makoto's 3,000 worlds to soul reorganization and reconstruction, there should have been the work of the activity as a redeemer by Susanoo no Makoto in Shinto, the baptism of fire by the word spirit of Maitreya Bodhisattva in Buddhism, and the advent of Christ in Christianity. In conclusion, in the 14th session, we examined the state of the evil spirits in the etheric world surrounding the earth, which had accumulated over the 5,000-year Dark Age Muddy Sea era, and the great project of purifying them, which Christ took on. Also, Steiner expressed that Christ's salvation of the earth in such a critical situation as the second crucifixion in the etheric world, and recognized that this was a repetition of the mystery of Golgotha in the spiritual dimension, which we verified through spirit world communication and Oomoto divine message. Next time, we plan to examine how the activities of the large forces led by this Christ became the driving force for many mystics and almost all spirit world communications in the early 20th century. Thank you very much for watching until the end.